Good afternoon. I'm forecaster Mark Spencer from NeoWeather with an update on Hurricane Matthew. Here's a look at the radar this morning as Hurricane Matthew left the Bahamas and moved its way towards Florida. Movement is to the northwest at about 14 miles an hour with sustained winds of 140 miles an hour, making it a very strong Category 4 storm. Some of the rain is affecting parts of Miami this morning with more bands coming onto the eastern coast. Conditions will continue to deteriorate through the afternoon along the coast, and we're going to get into some very serious conditions this evening and overnight tonight. Here's a little wider view of Matthew as it exits Bahamas and the satellite comes into view. Very powerful storm. Look how packed those isobars are. Very, very powerful storm with some signs of some additional strengthening this afternoon. We're going to keep a very close eye on this. It's a Category 4 now. It could get very close to being a Category 5 storm. We'd have to exceed winds of 155 miles an hour for that, but it could get pretty close. We're going to keep a very close eye on it throughout the afternoon. Here's a look at the forecast track this morning from the National Hurricane Center. It impacted the Bahamas Category 3. We're looking at a Category 4 now, and you can see along the coast a Category 4 from generally anywhere about Palm Beach all the way up to the Space Coast, just past Cape Canaveral there. Anywhere between those two fours you see there, that's our impact zone right now. Anywhere between there, that storm could come on shore. Again, generally between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. overnight tonight. Anywhere in that area, if you're there already, you need to evacuate now. You're running out of time. You're at about 12 hours or less before that storm begins to impact that area. It probably will come on shore a little bit further south, however, but a slight shift could bring that storm a little bit further north or anywhere in there. Here's the National Hurricane Center 11 a.m. advisory. This is their intermediate advisory. So not a lot of information with this. But again, it's a Category 4 storm with sustained winds of 140 miles an hour with movement to the northwest at 14 miles an hour. Anything you see along the coast here in red is a hurricane warning. Generally from about the Fort Lauderdale area all the way up to Charleston, South Carolina is under a hurricane warning with a hurricane watch going up into Wilmington, South Carolina there. If you're in that area, you need to evacuate, need to begin to make preparations to evacuate, especially for south of Jacksonville. You're only about 12 hours of time or less before that storm really begins to impact. We're looking at tropical storm warnings for the Florida Keys and also towards Tampa on the west side of Florida as winds come off the Gulf at tropical storm force as that storm begins to move off into the north and east and follow the coast. And according to this forecast, this could by Monday morning start wrapping back around, and it's possible by about Tuesday evening to Wednesday, this impacts Florida as a tropical storm. That's yet to be seen. We'll keep an eye on that, however. Here's our futurecast. This particular model brings the storm inland at about 10 p.m. tonight near Port St. Lucie or so, and then brings it up into Florida and hits Orlando by about noon tomorrow afternoon. I think this model's a little bit too far inland. The National Hurricane Center track where it's at is pretty much, again, right along the coast with an eye just inland perhaps. A couple models have that eye just offshore. I think the track right along the coast is what we're going to see. However, I cannot rule out that a slight shift to the west could happen. It's possible. And then that storm goes right up through Florida and into Orlando, and that could be very, very damaging. So if you're in the Orlando area, you need to keep a very, very close eye on this storm if you're not already, as it's possible. I don't think it's very likely. It's possible that storm could impact your area. Winds on this storm are very powerful. These are winds at about 5,000 feet. Winds are well over 130 miles an hour. Where you see the reds, especially the bright reds, we're looking at winds of over 100 miles an hour, and near the eye wall, winds of 120 miles an hour or so as it moves through Orlando Friday afternoon. That's aloft near the surface. They're a little bit less, but still very powerful, still very damaging nonetheless. It's going to cause a lot of damage. If you have not evacuated already, you need to evacuate. The winds are going to be well over 100 miles an hour, even inland at landfall. Near the coast, you're going to be anywhere between 125 and 140 miles an hour as that storm makes landfall later tonight. The rainfall is going to be extremely heavy. Models are predicting over a foot of rain for the eastern side of Florida all the way up the coast, with a lot of rain even into parts of Georgia and South Carolina. That heavy rain combined with storm surge near the coast is going to cause both coastal and inland flooding. Even if you're a little inland, even 20 miles inland, you're still going to see flooding from the heavy rain. Last but not least, evacuate now. Grab anything you have in your house in terms of food, supplies, clothing, and medicine you may need, and evacuate, especially if you're under orders. You need to get out now. You're running out of time if you're in this area. If you're anywhere between Port St. Lucie and the Space Coast Cape Canaveral area, you need to be out of that area now. You are running out of time if you're there. Your chances of survival, if you stay, are very, very low. We do not suggest you hunker down in your place and stay there. You need to get out of the way of this storm, and you need to do so immediately. If you're a little up further to the coast, northern Florida, into Georgia, or even in South Carolina, you need to be preparing to leave now. You need to start packing up supplies, food, clothing, medicine, anything you may need for about 5 days or so, a week or longer if you're in Florida, and get out of the way. I cannot stress that enough. If you're in the path of this storm, NeoWeather is, our thoughts and prayers are with you guys, especially your friends or relatives that are in that area where you may not be. We're going to keep you updated on our Facebook page and on Twitter throughout the afternoon and over the next couple of days. For now, I'm forecaster Mark Spencer. Have a good afternoon and stay safe.